My 30 female student, 18 male, made a super creepy comment. My husband, 35 male, thinks I'm being paranoid. I'm a high school English teacher and I have been for a few years. In that time, as a woman, I've been used to teenage boys awkwardly behaving around me sometimes, and pheromones are kind of a part of the deal. There have been occasional comments, but generally in the vein of, Miss So-and-so has a crush on you, or Miss, would you be so-and-so's Valentine? It's all in good humor in front of the whole class or a large group, and is seemingly well-meaning. My school throws a January ball for seniors, 16 to 18, which is basically an opportunity to celebrate the start of another calendar year. As it's after hours, not every teacher has to attend, and this year I was asked to be a chaperone. There is no alcohol permitted, but obviously some of them sneak in hip flasks and so on. During this month's ball, 2 students were huddled at a table in the corner of the hall, not dancing, just keeping to themselves. I know them well as problematic students who have difficulties socially, but also perform poorly academically, so they don't fit in with the popular crowd or the nerdy lot. We have some of these every year. Poor hygiene, greasy hair, long fingernails, that sort of thing. Immediately, I could tell that they had been drinking from the way that they smelled and talked, and asked them to hand over any alcohol they had. One of the boys, let's call him Stuart, started protesting. He said the following, and I'm 100% sure this is what he actually said. Quote, "Come on, miss. Don't pretend you won't open that bottle of Bailey's when you get home. Feet up in your dressing gown, watching the new TV. Give us a break." Now, as soon as he said this, I felt my heart drop into my stomach and I got cold all over. I had just bought a bottle of Bailey's Irish Cream for myself the weekend before the dance. I am in the habit on nights where I don't have much marking or planning and I want a treat for myself of having a bath and watching a movie or series in my dressing gown. My husband bought a new television over Christmas. I asked him how he knew those things, and he feigned ignorance, basically saying it was a lucky guess. I was so shaken that I left them, and a short while later, they both left. But that night, I could barely sleep, and my paranoia kept growing. I simply cannot believe that he could have guessed all 3 of those things. 1, maybe, but no way all 3. My husband is away for work currently. I phoned and told him about it, and he basically downplayed my concerns, saying I probably mentioned those things to my class at various points, and this student just remembered it. But I would never mention those things. I just wouldn't, and I'm sure I haven't. I've become more skittish at home when I hear noises. I only live in a small house, but when I arrive home from buying groceries, I check every single room and cupboard before I lock the doors. I've also arranged to have the locks changed. When cars stop outside the house, I turn all the lights off and peek at them through the blinds. I'm having trouble sleeping. In class, the student is quiet and the same as ever, not completing homework assignments, distracted in class. My husband is growing increasingly exasperated and worried more for my mental health than the possibility this student could somehow know details of my personal life. I mentioned it to my supervisor as well, and she also basically reasoned that I had either misheard what he said, it was a coincidence, or a combination of the two. What's the play here? I'm seriously freaked out, and I don't know how to even begin putting this to rest. We have an update.
No, wait, we do?
Yeah, we have an update. I'm so scared to read it.
You haven't read it yet?
I haven't read it.
Oh my God, okay.
I don't want to read it.
Oh my God.
What did I do to us
We're
today?
going to get so paranoid this week. We're going to be texting each other.
Dude, don't be listening to this episode alone. It's too late to tell people that now. Everyone's already locked in.
Yeah.
It's home. I'm alone. It's 3 a.m. Morgan. What the fuck? I'm so sorry, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My eyes are watering. I'm so scared. Update. I wasn't expecting this post to receive so much attention. I'm really grateful to so many people who have validated my concerns and helped me develop a plan of action. I got home a whittle.
I got home a whittle. It's a whittle.
A little while ago. And I'm going out shortly with a friend to try to rule out Bluetooth and Wi-Fi devices with my neighbors. After that, the two of us will try and conduct a meticulous search of the house for any concealed devices using the lights out phone camera trick some people recommended and some other tricks I found online. Just to clarify a couple of points that I've seen raised a few times. Dressing gown is a really common term in England for what Americans might call a robe. It's absolutely common parlance. Here, most people I know would associate a robe with something a wizard might wear. In terms of it being a lucky guess, if he had just said relaxed with a glass of wine, I might have assumed so. But the dressing gown comment, plus the Bailey's comment, when I had just bought a bottle, and the explicit mention of a new television, which I'm 100% certain I did not misinterpret, these things make it so much harder to write off as a coincidence. As far as social media goes, I have Instagram, which is set to private under my maiden name, and my profile picture is not of me. I'm not in the habit of connecting with former students. I only have 3 who have all gone to study English at a university and have used me as a reference. I also have a Snapchat, which I only use with my husband and very close friends. I've posted nothing about my new television, and I also don't think I've mentioned this to colleagues, let alone students. Certainly, I said nothing about the Baileys I just bought. And that's so true. You're not going to tell your underage students, yeah, I'm going to go home and drink a glass of Baileys.
Yeah. Or like,
That's
hey,
inappropriate.
everyone, I just bought a new TV. Like to your kid or to your, you would remember like talking about that.
I'm so excited to go home and have Baileys in front of my new TV and my dressing robe.
Also, why would anyone opt for a longer sentence that's more specific with all of these extra words
It
than
was
just
meant to fuck with
saying
her.
relax with a glass of wine? Like
They
people
know.
don't opt for
Ugh.
these really adjective riddled sentences with all these extra details for no reason.
No, they know something. And they wanted it to be specific to jar her so that she would leave them alone and they could keep their alcohol. Maybe they're part of a spy club. I don't.
Oh, maybe they're in the CIA.
Okay, update number 2. I wasn't going to post an update here, but the number of worried people who have reached out to me made me reconsider. After a thorough search of my house, I found 2 devices.
What? Dude, what the fuck?
They seem to be camera devices. I don't know if audio is included. One of them was in the smoke detector in my bedroom, while the other was concealed in the wall of my living room. Looking at an old picture of my bedroom, it looks like the smoke detector itself has changed very slightly. I think that the new one is a device in itself, which the culprit somehow switched with the old one without us noticing.
Dude, what?
What the fuck?
Like, I know that's kind of what we were saying, but that, like, what?
OP goes on to say, the matter has now been referred to the police. If it wasn't for so many of you taking me seriously and giving me practical advice, I wouldn't have had the courage to check, especially given the fact my husband was downplaying the concerns. He has been very apologetic and is coming back from his work trip early, but I've asked to spend some time apart and will be staying with my parents for a while.
Yeah, how do you even ever, like, feel safe in that home again?
I'm glad I raised the issue with my head at my school and a couple of others, as there's a paper trail, another suggestion from this thread. Needless to say, I'm completely shaken to my core, and I have the most revolting feelings of my privacy being invaded. I have no idea how many people have been involved in this, but phones have been taken from students, and we should have more answers soon. I won't be making any more posts or updates. Thank you again for everyone affirming me and making me feel sane.
Dude, I actually want to cry right now. Like, that's so violating and scary. And I mean, she's a teacher. Like, she needs to be taken seriously. She needs to be, like, respected. Like, this is also, I don't know, kind of a threat to her career with these, like, kids potentially passing around videos of her in her most, like, private, intimate moments. Like, that's just so terrible.
Am I the asshole for telling a woman her child is welcome in my home, but she isn't because of her criminal record? My husband, 28 male, and I, 27 female, have a 5-year-old son who just started kindergarten this past fall. he has met a boy named Sam, who he has decided is his best friend. My son has had a lot of playdates in the past because we've tried to socialize him well from a young age. He has been asking if his friend Sam can come over for a playdate. Sure, no problem. I write a note with my name and a number for Sam to give to his mom. I get a Facebook friend request from Sam's mom, Wendy, who appears to be a Methany.
What does that mean?
I work in healthcare and recognize the sores on her face from picking. It's pretty obvious from her Facebook that she is on some kind of drugs and maybe has mental health issues. Out of curiosity, I looked up her name in our county's jail view record, and yep, long history. Drug possession, fraud, prostitution, theft, battery, obstruction of justice. It's not great. Anyways, I didn't want to let who his mom is get in the way of our kids playing together, but there is no way in hell that I'll let my son go over to their house for a playdate, despite her offering. I played it off as me being overprotective and him being my only child, not to. She laughed and said, if you have more, you'll learn to be less overprotective. She has 5 kids, but agreed to a playdate at my house. The park was also an option, but she said my house was fine. The weather is very cold here right now, so indoors over the park makes sense. Sunday comes and they come over. I let the boy in. I mentioned she could come back in a few hours to pick him up. Whatever works for her, and I'll be sure to feed them both lunch. I asked if he has any food allergies. She says no, but she insisted on staying. I tried to make up a silly excuse, said I had a headache and would watch the boys diligently, but I'm not really in the mood to hang out. She insisted that it'd be great for us to get to know each other. Since the boys were out of earshot already in the playroom, I stepped outside and quietly told her that I had looked up her criminal record, and I just don't feel comfortable having someone in my home with theft charges and an obvious drug problem. I said if that's a problem, we could meet at the park from then on, but the boys get along, so I hope it's not a problem. I admit I was maybe a bit harsh and to the point. She kind of yelled at me and said I think I'm better than her, which maybe I do, and that I don't know anything. She stormed off. Her son's still in the house. I checked with the kids to make sure they didn't hear anything. When she came back, she just honked her horn and refused to come to the door. My husband kind of thinks I'm an asshole. He's always been very gentle and kind. He thinks I should have just watched her like a hawk. I told him I don't want to forcibly subject myself to that kind of person, and I shouldn't have to be on guard about some crackhead stealing our stuff. Am I the asshole?
Ooh. No, I don't think so. You're trying to protect yourself and your child.
So it's going from, am I overreacting? #relationship. My boyfriend, 22 male, and I, 21 female, have been official for almost 4 weeks. He texted me this after leaving me with his friends shortly after I arrived to a restaurant that they had all planned to meet at. Before I got there, he had already ordered for both of us. Everything seemed fine until about 10 minutes later when I went to the bathroom. When I came back, his friends told me, quote, he had stepped out, but I'm sure they knew what was going on based on their expressions. I waited about 15 minutes before he replied to my text and ended up leaving money to pay for food I didn't even get to eat. This was my 3rd time wearing my hair in its natural state since we've dated, and I didn't know he felt so strongly about this. I went home all without answering him. I was really upset and I told my roommate about it, but she brushed it off and insinuated that I was overreacting. It has been almost 2 days now, and I still don't know what to think. I feel like I'm going insane because everyone around me seems to think it's not that big of a deal, and most of them laughed at the picture. So the text message goes like this. She says, "Where did you go?" He replies back with just a question mark, and the next bubble says, "It makes me upset when I bring you to nice restaurants and you wear your puff instead of taming it down or something nicer. I know it's your natural hair, but I see girls your complexion with their hair done, and it makes me wish it was different for us." And then he attaches an image, which the search result for the AI photo generator was beautiful, dark skin, curly hair, cute. And then there's the image of a girl. And he says, "Something like this, maybe when we're going out, would be nice, don't you think?"
I'm appalled.